And I started to realize like, these people don't have anything I don't, except for confidence. They just believe in themselves.
It's a big day for you.
It's a big day. It's been a year and a half in the making. Yeah, you look great, by the way. Look at your glow. Yeah.
Thank you. You were the new kid on the block last season.
Everybody in America right now is like tweeting, who is this guy? I'm gonna win you over. Just give me a little time.
And one thing people can't take away from you is your hustle. Your hustle is there. And one thing that really stood out to me was when you lost the listing to Ryan, but you went up to him like, hey, what did you do that I didn't do? Where does that work ethic come from?
I used to be somebody who really doubted myself, didn't really feel like I deserved these things, right? Like, and I think that's something that a lot of people in sales deal with. I think a lot of people in life deal with that, right? Like, you see, for me, coming in as like a new real estate agent in the city and seeing people like Ryan and tons of people who aren't on the show. There's a gazillion super successful real estate agents in New York City. And, and I would look at them and kind of like almost put them on a pedestal and be like, oh, they're that thing that I'll never be good enough to be, right? Like I'll never be good enough for $10 million listings. I'll never be good enough for these huge buyers. I'll never be good enough to take over a new development. And then throughout my career, I started to experience these people and I'd go on showings with them and I was like, well, they didn't do anything magical in that showing, and I was like, it's not like they have like some, and I started to realize like, these people don't have anything I don't, except for confidence. They just believe in themselves. And I was like, that's the secret sauce. You just have to believe in yourself. And so I started doing that a lot in my career. Like there was somebody that had been that pedestal person for me, and Ryan knows this because now we've developed a friendship, but like for the last 10 years of my career, he was a pedestal person for me. I was like, this is like somebody who hustled and built something for him. And honestly, I had been dying to talk to him. And before that, we had never had a one-on-one conversation. So I've been dying to find a reason to go talk to him and ask him questions.
I'm not here to argue over how you got it. I want to learn how you got it.
Interesting. Don't think anyone's ever actually come in here and met with me to talk about a listing that they didn't get.
And, and I know like he's very public on Instagram and social media about coaching and helping other agents. So he was also somebody that I was like, I think he'd be open to something like this.
It's not about pushing them to do something that they don't want to do.
And so when I found out I lost the listing to him, I was like, I'm gonna call him. I was like, I'm just gonna do it. And it keeps paying off.
Right. They really don't want to sell. They wouldn't have hired me that day, and they probably never would have even called either of us.
That's interesting feedback. I need to put on pressure when I need to put on pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
It's uncomfortable. It definitely like makes me like a little bit nervous to like reach out to these people and find that hustle, but it keeps paying off. Like I develop new friendships, I develop relationships. They bring me in on things. They teach me things that I use. And the more it pays off, it's not uncomfortable at all to me anymore. I'm gonna keep doing this.
As someone in the early stages of their career, like how do you build that confidence?
Okay, so I'm somebody who has definitely had to fake it until I make it because, I've always struggled with confidence and believing in myself. I always feel like there's 10,000 people who are better for the job than me. I got a life coach.
I'm a little addicted to coaching. Vivace is my life coach.
And we just started doing a lot of work, and the things that really work for me are routines. And I know that sounds simple, but the first thing I check in with whenever, because I still have, you wake up in that funk and you're like, I don't know what I'm upset about, but I'm not in a good mood today. I did not believe in myself today. Like I'm not rock star level today. And the first thing I think about is like, when was the last time I woke up early and worked out and read and meditated and just do all these little things. One of the coaches I work with he says, you have to take your meds every morning, and meds being meditation, exercise, diet, and sleep, and it's just like, if you're really taking your meds, like the S for him is supplements, but so I sleep. And there's something about doing it bright and early, like doing it at like the first thing when I wake up. And I'm usually done with those things at around 7 a.m. And I know this sounds cocky, but I do think to myself, I'm like, wow, my competition is like just rolling out of bed. And then I also think like when I'm at work and it's 9 a.m. and I'm like fired up, like and I feel like I see so many people show up to work and they spend the first 2 or 3 hours of their day getting warmed up.
They're trying to wake up.
Yeah, they're like getting coffee, they're talking to their colleagues, but they're not like getting shit done.
Yeah.
And for me, like when I show up at 9, like I'm ready to go. I'm like in the zone. I get everything done before noon. I leave my afternoon open for appointments, and I just have these routines in place that I'm like, oh, this works. This works, and it's not hard. That's the other thing, is like learning that it's not that hard once you get into it is great for confidence.
As for this season, like, what are you excited to share with viewers?
I feel like last season I really struggled with confidence, actually.
This year, you really need to up your game in terms of high-level listings.
It just feels like because I haven't done it, it feels like I just can't jump into it.
We both know you can do it.
I was in a process of my life where I was building it, and honestly, getting to share that on the TV show was pretty life-changing for me, not just in the fact of like, I'm on TV now and like that, but getting to watch it back and being like, okay, like I'm onto something, but like I need to work on that. And I did. I stopped and I did the work, and and I think the audience is going to see a much. I'm still the same like fun-loving, goofy guy, right? Like positive energy. That's my thing. But like, I think they're going to see somebody who is much more assertive and much more confident. And I get a lot of big sales done this season, like a lot of big sales done. And I have to do some really creative things to make that happen. And so I'm excited because a lot of the people who I think connected with me on the show were people who were like, I've struggled for a long time too. Like I'm in that spot, and I'm excited to show them that the work paid off. And I have a really big season. I think that's gonna be really, really cool to share.
You take the stress out of real estate, which is refreshing.
Oh, that makes me feel so good. Thank you.
The penthouse has insane views. This is just another level than those.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
12% not.
That's an 88% is though, so I will take it.
I try to part of the thing that I love about real estate is that it's hard. It's an emotional decision. It's not just money. It's like, you're going to spend a lot of time inside of this thing. And so I really enjoy the psychological part of it.
I mean, moving is rated the second most stressful thing that people go through. I want to make sure that the people I'm working with know that I understand that and I care about what they're going through.
Real estate comes and goes. This will be back. We'll get it sold.
And making people excited. And then I was talking to somebody else about this the other day. I also love like working with crazy people because there's just something about it to me. It's like, I'm like, oh, let's do it.
I love that you have a pornography box. I feel like everybody needs a pornography box. I don't know how
Where do you put yours?
You'll have to come over and see for yourself.
Last season, it was like a really tough market. How has like the pandemic affected the real estate market since then?
That's actually a really great question. I found personally that the market in 2019 leading up to the pandemic, to me personally was actually more challenging just around the kind of conversations that we had to have, because the market in 2019 was not good. It's not like we were in some thriving market and then coronavirus came in and ruined everything. We were in New York, we had a huge oversupply, especially in the new development world. We had a lot of sellers that were holding on to pricing that was appropriate, in 2013, 14, 15, and even 16. But, and then we started to feel a little bit of a slowdown start in 2017, and then really come to like a screeching halt in 2019. And we just couldn't get sellers and it was hard to come up with a reason why it was happening. You know what I mean? The job market was good. The stock market was doing well. But for some reason, the New York City real estate was just not being absorbed. And because there wasn't a thing to point at to say, hey, sellers, it's time to adjust, this is going on. And they just were like, well, I guess we'll just wait and see what happens. Maybe we'll be one of the lucky ones. And then when coronavirus hit, then all of a sudden we're like, okay, if you want to sell, like, let's not waste each other's time here. Like, you need to be a deal in New York City to sell right now. And because of that, we were able to actually transact a lot more because we had a reason. We had a reason that the prices needed to be this way, and like a story that we could tell our sellers. And, it's like they finally understood. And, and now the New York City market is like crazy. I mean, it's crazy, but only in like the last few months has it gotten crazy. But now it's like the prices are appropriate, the demand is there, and like that's what creates a healthy market. It's just good pricing and good demand, and there you go. And it feels like we're at that somewhat of an equilibrium right now.
Obviously with sales, like there's no formula, there's no cookie cutter. Every single person is different. Like the people that are successful are the ones that adapt quickly, the ones that can kind of just read the situation. And how had you had to be creative with your business in the last year?
We had to learn and adapt very quickly. My business previously revolved around throwing big events and big open houses and getting as many people through the door as humanly possible. And then this year it went all digital, and thankfully, listing videos had already been a big part of my business because I just have fun doing them. But, it was kind of like one of those life lessons of like, you never know when your skill is going to be coming most in handy. And I think that's why we saw through the pandemic, a lot like Peloton, I think is a great example, right? Like at home workouts were like a thing, but Peloton was like ready, did not know that a pandemic was coming. And now Peloton is like the workout now. You know what I mean? And I say that as an avid Peloton lover. I have the treadmill and the bike. But there were a lot of technologies in real estate and strategies in real estate that existed, but were always kind of like on the back burner that thankfully I had been doing anyway as part of my business. And then all of a sudden those took the forefront, and then like events and all of that, it's no more. And now it's all about these 3D digital tours and your digital strategy, and basically kind of using the same marketing techniques that you see in like an Amazon, where things will like repopulate and retargeting and things that some of it I outsource to experts who are experts in that area, and then some of it I've learned to do myself. And regardless, I'm definitely a lot smarter today than I was on March 15th of 2020 when this all got wild.
Wild. And by the way, I really love the musical you did, the one with like the singer. I love that one. That was so
Thank
cute.
you.
He's almost here.
I'm not a singer, but I am very good at helping people buy and sell homes in New York City. Gals, no need to make a big production.
What was like such a bummer about that one is, so I that was the one I was most excited about. The creative people wrote that song. We had it orchestrated. We hired professionals to sing it. We had these professional performers do the music video with us. And then, we put a huge ad spend behind these on social media. And social media wouldn't let me do my ad spend on it because it featured, like at the end, there's a glass of wine, weird little restrictions that we didn't know about. And so like I couldn't explode that one the way that I typically would have and wanted to. So, oh well, but it's still a fun one to have in my portfolio.
And it's definitely memorable. The content marketing you had, the really factual stuff that people, maybe they're not even buying a house at the moment, but you're giving all this knowledge that just makes someone want to follow you.
Oh, I love you. Thank you.
I do my research,
I see that.
And it's cool because actually I watched an interview that you did, and I really liked how you said being a server is a rite of passage. And I completely agree, because you're not going to get along with every single person, but you have to like work with them. How did your first job as a waiter pave the way for you to sell luxury real estate?
Gosh, well, what was, I've waited tables at a lot of different restaurants, but my first big one in the city was at like one of those huge restaurants in Times Square. They just had tons of tourists coming through, and they're looking for an experience, especially in a restaurant like that. And like, no matter how busy you are, no matter how stressed you are, these people want to have a good time. These are people who spend a lot of money to be in a really expensive city. And the same thing applies to real estate, right? Like I get caught up in like the stress of a deal, and I start to, let myself get overwhelmed. And then I remember I have to like stay centered and stay focused and take care of my mental health, because these people need me to like be their Sherpa through this process. Like I need to carry them through, and I need to make it seem simple, even whenever it's not. And, if I think waiting tables will put you through that boot camp faster than anything else. Because like for me, like a transaction, from the time I meet a client and then we go shopping and then we go through the actual transaction process, from start to finish in the city, it's actually pretty long. It's like 4 or 5 months. But in a night of waiting tables, I'm going through 50, 60 different people who are like trying to have this dining experience. I mean, it's just like turn it. You learn patience. And because then if you lose your patience, much like a deal, you lose the deal. But if you lose your patience that night, you don't get a tip. Especially in Times Square, if they came from somewhere where tipping isn't custom and they just didn't know, and then so like you work really hard and you're stressed and you're trying to give this experience, and then you do not get paid for it. And listen, that happens in real estate too. You know, you can do every single thing right in a transaction, and then something can go wrong with the bank, something can go wrong with the building, whatever, and the deal falls apart and you just don't get paid. Thank God for the Planet Hollywood boot camp.
If you could sell real estate anywhere in the world other than New York, where would it be? Like Tokyo, Paris, anywhere.
I think it would be Paris. I've always thought about like, firstly, I always said Whitman Team London and Whitman Team Paris, both have really good rings to them, but Paris forever. And I know it's cliche because everybody feels this way, but it's the city that I walk around and I'm just like, every corner is gorgeous. Yeah. Every corner is stunning. I'm like, is there an ugly pocket of this place? I'm like, because like New York City, we have some ugly pockets. You know, we have like some streets you walk down, it's like, okay. And San Francisco's the same way. I say that with love. I love it.
It might be worse.
I know, Francisco, but there's definitely some spots where I'm like, okay. I'm like, this
wrong turn.
Yeah, but Paris, I have looked for it. I've looked for the ugly streets of Paris. They do not exist. I'm just like, and it's also those buildings that you walk by and I'm like, I need to know what's behind those windows.
That's how I feel in New York. That's how I feel here. Like, I need to know what's on the other side of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I get Paris.
It's cool. Like, I mean, it's a market, $1 million Paris, right?
Yeah. Ooh, MDP.
No, I pitched it.
Okay. All right. I'll make sure you get the check.
No, but it was really nice to talk to you. Like, I'm such a fan, and thank you again for taking time out of your day to talk to us.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I appreciate it. Enjoy your time in New York.
You're
here on a good weather day. It's pretty out.
It's beautiful.
All right. Well, thanks so much.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.